California Governor Gavin Newsom has been facing major calls to resign over his appalling handling of the deadly California wildfires. And just to quickly recap, these were the most destructive wildfires the state has ever seen. More than 16,000 properties were destroyed. The cost of the fires is estimated to be more than $200 billion. And for businesses in LA County, the future is looking grim. It's projected businesses will continue to lose billions of dollars over the next 5 years due to disruptions. So, while Californians have lost their homes and they're still suffering from the devastation, what does Gavin Newsom decide to do? Well, now is apparently the perfect time to try and boost his popularity and essentially promote himself. He's launched a podcast. I'll play you the trailer in just a moment, but take notice. Does the trailer that he shared with the world on X, does it even mention the most horrific fire catastrophe that occurred under his leadership, partly as a result of the decisions he was making, like cutting fire prevention? No, this is his chance to talk about his image, insisting that he's no ordinary politician. Oh, and also to talk about Doge, because cutting waste is something we should all fear. And of course, Gavin Newsom will be the one to tell you all about that.
We need to change the conversation. And that's why I'm launching a new podcast. And this is going to be anything but the ordinary politician podcast. I'm going to be talking to people directly that I disagree with, as well as people I look up to. But more important than anything else, I'll be talking directly with you, the listener. Real conversations. What's going on with the cost of eggs? What are the impacts, real impacts to you around tariffs? What power does an executive order really have? And what's really going on inside of Doge? Look, there's an onslaught of information that we take in. So let's take it to the sources without the typical political mumbo jumbo. In the first few weeks, we're going to be sitting down with some of the biggest leaders and architects in the MAGA movement. This is Gavin Newsom.
It is so cringe, it is so tone deaf to be promoting himself at a time while Californians are still suffering. Where are the answers on the fires? Because he's just been spinning and deflecting ever since the disaster.
I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt in reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full, the state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation.
So what is Gavin Newsom really trying to do here by launching a podcast? Be the next Joe Rogan? Well, that's not going to work, because the world's most successful podcaster has absolutely slammed Gavin Newsom for this, posting on X, "If the ick was a podcast." What an endorsement. Also, journalist Michael Schellenberger has taken aim at Gavin Newsom on X, saying you cut fire prevention, LA burned. You spent $24 billion on homelessness, it rose by 40%. You reduced penalties for violent crime. It's 31% higher in California than in the US as a whole. And instead of taking responsibility, you're trying to become an influencer. It's pathetic. So again, will we be hearing any of this from Gavin Newsom himself? Well, I wouldn't hold your breath. No, Gavin Newsom has shared an insight into what's on the pod and what appears to be his priority. And that, of course, is a case that Hollywood is pushing, the Menendez brothers.
Something that's getting a lot of attention, unsurprisingly, and that's what's going on with the Menendez brothers. Just a quick update. Today, I just notified the LA DA as well as the Menendez attorney, including victims, that I have directed the Board of Parole hearings to do what we call a risk assessment investigation into their applications, specifically for commutation. The question for the board is a rather simple one. Do Eric and Lyle Menendez, do they pose a current, what we call unreasonable risk to public safety?
People on social media are blasting Gavin Newsom, and as they should. One user wrote, "California is a burnt mess that's wallowing in financial ruin." So Gavin Newsom naturally launches a podcast, WTH. Another user wrote, Let's start with why did you throw a party for yourself at the French Laundry with no masks on in the middle of COVID when California had just about the strictest COVID regulations in the country and thousands of small businesses were going out of business because of policies? Another reporter wrote, "Your state is literally in shambles. Homelessness is a massive problem. Communities are still in ash. And you think now is a good time to launch a podcast." And another person wrote, "I'd rather pour acid in my ears than listen to a Gavin Newsom podcast." Wow, that one's a bit harsh, but he's probably speaking the truth. Now, Gavin Newsom, what's he doing? Trying to become an influencer, and he's probably hoping to get enough views that he can run for president. Do not fall for this. As we know, California has suffered because of Gavin Newsom, and LA has been suffering as well because of LA Mayor Karen Bass, who's also going to extreme lengths to spin her image. Now Karen Bass just continues to prove what a weak leader she really is. She's decided, not to take accountability for her many mistakes which contributed to the fires becoming so catastrophic, such as fleeing to Ghana when she was warned about the fires. No, she's decided to pass the blame and has fired LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley, who was forced to admit on live television that Karen Bass's decision to cut the fire department's budget by $17 million just months before the wildfires impacted the fire department's ability to respond.
Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Who knew that taking millions of dollars out of a fire department's budget, while there are fire trucks that need repairs, there are not enough firefighters on the ground, would limit the way firefighters could respond to a major fire event? And if Karen Bass had it her way, those budget cuts would have been even larger. She initially wanted the budget slashed by $23 million. Now Karen Bass, she's finally admitted that she made a mistake by flying off to Ghana while California was burning and residents were losing everything. But in her first sit-down interview since the disaster, her chance to be open and frank with the American people, she tried to play dumb.
Although there were warnings, I think our preparation wasn't what it typically is, meaning that before there's a major weather event, for example, last week when we knew we were going to get into the rains, you saw us come together and us talk about, get your sandbags, bring the K-rails out. That type of preparation didn't happen. If that had, I will tell you, Alex, I wouldn't have even gone to San Diego, let alone leave the country.
But what do you mean there were warnings you weren't aware of? Because I know we were talking about it on the news. A lot of people were talking about the problems, warning that this was going to be a huge deal.
So when I talked about it with the fire chief, what she said is that we have warnings of Santa Ana winds a lot, but predicting this, and you saw, from the city, from the county, that level of preparation really didn't happen. So it didn't reach that level to me to say something terrible could happen and maybe you shouldn't have gone on the trip.
Why didn't it happen?
But to me, I don't know.
So she claims she wasn't really warned, then admits that she was kind of warned, and she still can't tell you why they were so bad. I mean, what a load of BS. How on earth is that good enough? But Karen Bass is now going to extreme lengths to not only pass the blame, but to try and polish her own image, because her image as a politician, that is what's really important here. Her office has been caught out editing key questions from press conferences and those videos posted to her official Facebook page, where she's questioned about her handling of the wildfires. The LA Times reports that multiple videos from her press conferences that appear on her social media pages actually cuts off when the reporters are asking critical questions. I mean, what a joke. The journalists are in that room asking the questions that the people of Los Angeles need answers to, yet she provides none. How on earth is she still in the position of mayor? I mean, how insulting for everyone in LA after what they've been through and what they're still going through. But LA residents, don't worry. Failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris has been on the ground to save the day, and her message is really comforting and bound to make a difference.
goes through your mind when you see this? You're here, you're now seeing it up close.
It's not only seeing it, Alex, you can smell it. You can feel it, right? So it's seeing it with our eyes, and many people have seen it. You all are covering it. But to literally be on the ground here, you can smell the smoke that was here. You can feel the toxicity, frankly, of the environment. You can feel the energy of all of the folks who are still here on the ground.
And to think we came close to having Kamala Harris lead the country is a scary thought. Joining us now is James Billow, editor at Unheard. James, thank you for joining us. Firstly, let's start with Karen Bass. It's been nearly 2 months since the devastating wildfires, and Karen Bass just continues to deflect, offering no real answers. It's just insulting. I mean, what's your assessment of her handling? She's doing a sit-down interview claiming that she wasn't really warned about the fires, and she's now taken the action to fire the chief of the LA Fire Department.
This is exactly the problem with having these mono-party states in which the same leaders get elected over and over and over. You put crap in, you get crap out. And there has just been absolutely zero accountability for California's leadership, and ditto for Los Angeles. And no one exemplifies that better than Karen Bass herself. I mean, not only was she on the other side of the world when the fires happened, but then in the recent weeks, she's actually started blaming her team for not alerting her about the potential of a fire happening. So there's been absolutely zero responsibility taken by her here. And it's just incredibly frustrating to watch that she's still in this position of power and really not getting much done. There's something like 4.5 million tons of debris in Los Angeles now, and there's been zero effort to clean that up. And I just do not know what's going on over there.
Oh, my heart absolutely breaks for everyone in LA, and then having to listen to her speak and deflect and taking no responsibility. And then we've seen Kamala Harris touring the fire-ravaged parts of Los Angeles, offering nothing but waffle, really. You know, I just think, haven't the residents of LA been through enough with Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom? Why put them through having Kamala Harris on the ground and having to listen to her?
Some of the clips going around at the moment. There's one where she's asked a detail about what she's seen across the state, and all she can conjure up is just the horrible smell that's come. And decades of experience in politics should have probably given her a bit more of a grounding on what to say here. And the answer she gave was something a 10-year-old could have given. It just smells bad. Okay, well, great. What's the political insight there? The frustrating thing with Kamala Harris is that she never seems to quite escape from the limelight. And polling suggests that she is still the #1 choice for the 2028 Democratic presidential candidate. And when you just get these word-salad people like Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, you're never going to win an election. And it's so frustrating to watch.